tonight her parents insisted. The Ndlovu home in Gaborone sparkled like a five-star hotel. Golden lights wrapped around the tall acacia trees. Soft music floated through the warm night, and waiters carried trays of champagne and sparkling juice. It was supposed to be a joint birthday dinner for Amara, turning 25, and her younger sister Naledi, who had just turned 21. Guests in glittering clothes filled the garden, laughing and snapping pictures. From the outside it looked like a night of pure joy, but inside Amara's heart felt strangely heavy. She stood near the edge of the crowd, a quiet smile on her face. As an accountant, Amara was used to order and balance, not all this noise. Her parents, both successful business owners, moved through the guests like royalty. Naledi sparkled in a red dress that caught every flash of the camera, soaking in the attention. Everyone kept saying 21 was the real milestone, and Amara told herself she didn't mind. She was used to letting Naledi shine. Still, a tiny hope flickered inside her. Maybe this year her parents would surprise her with something small but meaningful. A letter, a family toast, even just a few kind words. When her father tapped a glass and announced the final gift of the night, Amara's chest tightened. The crowd clapped, phones ready to capture the moment. She tried to calm her racing heart, unaware that in the next few seconds, the night would deliver a shock she would never forget. The music softened as Amara's father tapped his glass again, his deep voice carrying across the glowing garden. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, smiling like a man about to reveal a royal secret, "tonight we celebrate my two beautiful daughters. But one of them has a very special surprise." A hush fell over the crowd. Waiters paused mid-step, phones were raised, and Naledi's eyes sparkled with curiosity. From behind a curtain of white roses, two waiters rolled out a silver platform draped in red silk. Amara felt her stomach tighten as her father grabbed the edge of the fabric and, with a dramatic flourish, pulled it away. Gasps and cheers erupted. Under the lights sat a brand-new red Lexus, gleaming like fire under the night sky. Guests clapped and shouted, cameras flashing like lightning. Naledi squealed and covered her mouth in fake shock, her friends screaming her name. Her father held out the keys with a proud grin. "For our shining star, Naledi Ndlovu," he declared. Naledi rushed forward, hugging him tightly as guests chanted her name. Phones captured every angle, Naledi's perfect hair blowing in the night breeze, the shiny car reflecting the glow of champagne glasses. Amara stood frozen beside her chair. Her palms felt damp, her chest hollow. She told herself not to expect anything more, but a small, stubborn part of her heart still waited. Maybe there was another surprise for her too. Her mother finally turned toward her with a bright smile and held out a small white envelope. "And for our responsible firstborn," she said, her tone light and playful. "Something meaningful." Amara forced a smile as she took the envelope. Inside was a plain birthday card with printed flowers and a short message. "Happy birthday, Amara. Keep being you. No money. No note. Nothing else." Before she could react, her mother laughed, waving at the crowd. "Amara doesn't need gifts," she said loudly. "She's the strong one. She earns her own rewards." A few guests chuckled politely, but others exchanged uneasy glances. Heat rushed to Amara's cheeks as she clutched the thin card. She could feel the whispers starting around her. Phones that had been aimed at the Lexus now tilted slightly in her direction, capturing her stiff smile and the empty envelope. Naledi, already posing beside the car, didn't even look back. Every clap, every cheer for her sister felt like a slap. The night air suddenly seemed too heavy, the champagne bubbles too sharp. Amara swallowed hard and tried to hold her head high, but the humiliation pressed against her like a weight she couldn't escape. Somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered that this wasn't just a birthday. It was a reminder of every year she had been overlooked, every moment she had been treated as less. And tonight the world was watching. The house was finally quiet, but Amara's heart felt louder than ever. The last guests had left, the music had stopped, and the garden lights outside flickered as workers packed away the champagne glasses. From her small bedroom at the far end of the hallway, she could still hear Naledi's laughter drifting from the garage. The new red Lexus engine purred as her sister and her friends took late-night selfies, their voices bright with excitement. Each giggle cut through the silence like a blade. Amara sat on the edge of her neatly made bed, the plain birthday card resting on her lap. She had read the short message at least 10 times, hoping to find a hidden meaning in the printed words. There was none. It was just a card, cold, empty, and forgettable. Her phone buzzed again and again. Curious and scared, she unlocked it and opened Naladi's social media. There it was, a stream of glowing photos and videos of the car reveal. Naladi posed with their parents, the keys held high, poured in by the second. Such a beautiful family. Naladi deserves it all. The favorite daughter wins again. Amara's stomach tightened as she scrolled. Some relatives even tagged her, adding playful but cruel remarks. Better luck next year, Amara. Her eyes stung, but she refused to cry at first. She told herself to be strong, to act like the mature, responsible daughter everyone expected. But memories began to flood in, breaking down the walls she had built around her heart. She saw herself as a little girl watching Naladi get the newest toys while she received hand-me-downs. She remembered school mornings when her parents proudly announced that Naladi would attend an elite private academy while she stayed in a modest public school. She could still hear the excuses. "You're stronger, Amara. You'll manage." It wasn't just the gifts. It was the way her parents' eyes always softened for Naladi, the way family friends showered her sister with praise while barely noticing Amara's achievements. Every scholarship Amara earned, every late night she worked to pay for her own college books, none of it ever brought the same applause Naladi received for simply existing. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. Then another. Soon, silent sobs shook her shoulders. She buried her face in her pillow, careful not to make a sound. Crying felt both weak and necessary, a release for years of quiet hurt. Outside, the garage door opened and closed, followed by more laughter and the sound of car doors slamming. Naladi was probably taking her first late-night drive in the shiny Lexus, the world cheering her on. Amara lay in the darkness, the thin birthday card still clutched in her hand, realizing this night wasn't just about a car. It was proof of a cruel truth she had always feared. In her family's eyes, she was invisible. The house had fallen into a sleepy hush. Only the soft ticking of the hallway clock and the faint hum of distant traffic filled the night. Amara wiped her eyes one last time and tried to steady her breathing. She didn't want anyone to see the evidence of her tears. Just as she was about to turn off her bedside lamp, there was a gentle knock on the door. Slow, careful, almost fragile. "Amara." The voice was faint but familiar. It was her grandmother, Mavis Cosi, the quiet heart of the family. Amara quickly stood and opened the door. Grandma Mavis leaned on her cane, wrapped in a cream shawl that smelled faintly of lavender and old books. Her silver hair was neatly tied back, but her shoulders seemed smaller tonight. "Come," she whispered, her voice a soft melody. "Walk with me for a moment." They moved slowly through the dim corridor, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. The rest of the house slept while the two of them slipped into the small sitting room near the back garden. Moonlight poured through the window, bathing the room in silver. Grandma lowered herself carefully onto a cushioned chair, her frail hands trembling slightly. "My child," she began, reaching for Amara's hand. Her skin was paper-thin but warm, the grip surprisingly steady. "I saw everything tonight. I saw your face when they gave the car." Amara bit her lip, embarrassed. "It's nothing, Grandma. I'm used to it." Her voice cracked despite her effort to sound strong. Grandma Mavis shook her head slowly. "No pain is nothing. I have lived long enough to know when a heart is hurting." She squeezed Amara's hand, her cloudy eyes holding a quiet strength. "Listen to me, Amara. Patience builds palaces. The proud stumble first." The words floated between them, heavy yet comforting. Amara frowned slightly, trying to understand. "What do you mean?" Her grandmother smiled faintly. "Life is a long road. Those who chase shiny things often fall into dark holes. Those who wait, who work with steady hands, they inherit blessings no thief can steal." Her voice grew softer, almost like a lullaby. "Your worth is not in a car or a party. Your reward will come when the time is right. Trust the slow magic of life." Amara felt a warmth spread through her chest, easing the tight knot of humiliation that had sat there all night. Tears welled again, but these were different, lighter, almost hopeful. She rested her head gently on Grandma's shoulder, breathing in the comforting scent of lavender and wisdom. They sat in silence for a long time, the moonlight wrapping them like a soft blanket. For the first time that night, Amara didn't feel invisible. In her grandmother's quiet presence, she felt seen, valued, and, most of all, loved. 2 weeks later, the world felt heavier. The phone call came early on a quiet Sunday morning. Grandma Mavis had passed away peacefully in her sleep. Amara stood frozen as her mother delivered the news, her voice flat and hurried, as if saying the words quickly might soften the blow. But nothing could soften it. The memory of their moonlit talk rushed back to Amara, every word of comfort now aching like a fresh wound. The house that once smelled of lavender and warm tea suddenly felt cold and empty. The days leading to the memorial blurred together in a haze of phone calls, flower arrangements, and endless visitors offering polite condolences. Grandma Mavis was not just a grandmother. She was the matriarch of the Cosi family, a woman respected across Gaborone for her quiet wisdom and generous heart. Friends, church members, old business partners, and distant relatives all came to pay their respects. The memorial was set to be grand, as if the whole city wanted to honor her legacy. On the morning of the service, the family home transformed into a scene of elegance and grief. White tents covered the garden, rows of chairs lined the driveway, and the scent of fresh lilies floated in the warm Botswana air. Amara moved through the crowd like a gentle current, helping guests find seats, checking the water stations, making sure elderly relatives were comfortable. She wore a simple black dress and kept her hair neatly tied, her quiet efficiency a stark contrast to the storm of emotions inside her. Then came the sound of an engine purring down the driveway. Heads turned as the shiny red Lexus rolled in, spotless and glittering in the sun. Naledi stepped out wearing a sleek black outfit with gold earrings that caught the light. Cameras flashed as if she were stepping onto a runway. Friends rushed to greet her, some whispering about how well she was handling the tragedy. Naledi gave practiced hugs and posed for quick photos beside the car, her face a perfect mask of polite sorrow. Amara watched from a distance, a familiar ache pressing against her chest. Even in grief, her sister found a way to be the center of attention. Guests murmured about how beautiful Naledi looked, how proud Grandma must have been. No one seemed to notice the quiet granddaughter who had spent countless evenings by Grandma's bedside, listening to stories and rubbing tired hands. When talk of the will surfaced later that afternoon, most guests treated it as a formality. Everyone assumed the fortune, Grandma's 3 properties, her profitable farm, her savings, would naturally pass to Amara's parents and eventually to Naledi. Some relatives even joked about it over tea, whispering about the Lexus being just the beginning of Naledi's good luck. Amara kept her face calm, offering small smiles as she poured tea for guests. But inside, her grandmother's last words echoed like a heartbeat: patience builds palaces. The proud stumble first. Something in those words felt heavier now, as if they carried a secret no one else could see. The will reading took place on a bright Monday morning, but inside the law office the air felt heavy and still. The building was one of Gaborrone's oldest, with polished wooden floors that creaked softly under every step. The conference room smelled faintly of leather and paper, its mahogany-paneled walls gleaming under golden light. Family members filled the long oval table, their voices low and tense, as if even laughter might disturb the weight of what was about to happen. Amara sat near the end of the table, her black dress neatly pressed, a folded handkerchief clenched tightly in her lap. She could feel her heartbeat in her fingertips. Across from her, Naledi lounged back in her chair, her nails perfectly polished, a confident smirk playing at the corner of her mouth. Their parents sat between them, looking composed but restless, exchanging quiet glances that revealed their own expectations. Everyone knew Grandma Mavis's estate was sizable: 3 houses, a thriving farm, and investments no one could fully count. Almost everyone in the room assumed those treasures would naturally flow to Amara's parents and, eventually, to Naledi. Attorney Mr. Moleff, a tall man with a calm but commanding presence, adjusted his glasses and opened a thick sealed envelope. The crisp sound of paper slicing free made the entire room go silent. "This is the last will and testament of Mrs. Mavis Cossey," he began, his deep voice steady. He started with small bequests, modest cash gifts to cousins, a family heirloom to a church friend, a scholarship fund for her old school. Polite nods and whispered thank yous followed each announcement. Amara felt her chest tighten with every name that wasn't hers. She told herself not to hope for anything. Tonight wasn't about her. Never was. Naledi leaned forward slightly, eyes glittering. Every time Mr. Moleff turned a page, she straightened her posture, clearly waiting for the part where the luxury properties and farm would be announced in her favor. Their mother rested a hand on Naledi's arm, smiling faintly, as if already congratulating her. Amara gripped her handkerchief harder. The soft fabric was damp now, twisted between her fingers. She tried to keep her face neutral, but her thoughts raced. Why did Grandma talk to me that night? Why those strange words? Patience builds palaces. The memory of their moonlit conversation flickered like a small flame in the back of her mind, but she pushed it aside. Surely, Grandma's comfort was only that, a grandmother's gentle attempt to soothe a neglected child. Mr. Moleff cleared his throat and shuffled the final page. The room leaned in. Even the air seemed to pause. Amara's father adjusted his tie. Naledi flashed a quick smile at a cousin across the table. The next words would decide everything. Amara took a slow breath, her nails digging into the soft handkerchief. Whatever came next, she promised herself she would not cry in this room. She was ready for the usual, ready to be forgotten once again. But a strange, quiet energy lingered in the air, like a storm waiting to break. Mr. Moleff adjusted his glasses and looked around the silent room. His paws stretched long enough for every heartbeat to echo against the mahogany walls. Papers rested in his hands, but his eyes lingered on the family as if preparing them for a storm. "The next section concerns the distribution of the primary estate," he said finally, his deep voice slow and deliberate. Chairs creaked as relatives leaned forward. "In regard to the 3 residential properties, the Cossey family farm, and all remaining financial accounts," he continued, "Mrs. Mavis Cossey has made a single clear decision." He stopped again, letting the weight of the words settle. The air felt suddenly thick, like the moments before a thunderclap. Naledi straightened in her seat, lips curving into a confident smile. Their mother squeezed her hand under the table, already imagining the fortune sliding neatly into the family's grasp. Amara sat frozen, her damp handkerchief clenched tight, bracing herself for another quiet disappointment. Mr. Moleff cleared his throat. "All of these assets, every house, the farm, and a hidden savings account held under a private trust, are to be given in their entirety to," he looked directly at Amara. "Amara Ndlovu." The room erupted in gasps. A cousin dropped his pen. Someone muttered, "Impossible." Naledi's smile collapsed into a stunned frown, her perfectly glossed lips parting in disbelief. Their father blinked hard, as if the lawyer had misread the page. Amara's own breath caught. For a moment she wondered if she had misheard. Her name hung in the air like a bell still ringing. Mr. Moleff continued firmly, "Mrs. Cossey's instructions are explicit and legally binding." He lifted a small sealed envelope. "There is also a handwritten note addressed to Miss Amara Ndlovu." Hands trembling, Amara accepted the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of thick cream paper, her grandmother's careful handwriting looping across it. "To the one who worked without praise." The note read, "May this wealth build the life you deserve. Patience builds palaces. The proud stumble first. Love, Grandma." Amara's eyes blurred as she read the words again and again. A warmth spread through her chest. Love, relief, and grief all tangled together. Her grandmother hadn't just seen her pain, she had honored it. Naledi shot to her feet, her voice sharp. "This is ridiculous. Grandma wouldn't do that. She loved me." Their mother joined in, demanding a review of the document. But Mr. Moleff remained calm, his tone unshakable. "This will is airtight," he said. "It was signed, witnessed, and verified. There is no contest." The room buzzed with whispers, some shocked, some secretly pleased. Phones lit up as cousins exchanged hurried messages. But Amara sat perfectly still, the letter pressed to her heart. For the first time in her life, she wasn't invisible. In a single stroke of ink, her grandmother had given her more than property, she had given her dignity. The room exploded the moment Mr. Moleff finished speaking. Naledi shot up so fast her chair screeched against the polished floor. "No!" she shouted, her voice trembling with rage. "This is a lie. She jabbed a finger at Amara. She must have tricked Grandma. There's no way she left everything to her." Their mother gasped loudly, clutching her pearls as if someone had slapped her. "Amara, what did you do?" she demanded. "Tell us the truth right now." Their father's face darkened, his sharp eyes darting between the lawyer and Amara. "This cannot stand," he barked. "We will challenge it in court. There must be a mistake, a forgery, something." Amara opened her mouth but no sound came out. Her heart pounded so hard it drowned out the angry voices around her. She held Grandma's letter in her lap, the warm paper now damp from her palms. Mr. Moleff remained seated, his calm presence like a stone in the middle of a storm. He raised a hand for silence. "There is no mistake," he said firmly. "Mrs. Kosi's wishes are clear and legally binding. The will was signed in my presence and verified by independent witnesses. No one here can change it." His steady words cut through the chaos, but the room only grew hotter with tension. Naledi's eyes burned with fury. "You always acted like you didn't care about money," she snapped at Amara. "All those late nights at work, was this your plan all along? To play the victim and steal everything when Grandma died?" Her voice cracked, tears threatening to spill but held back by sheer pride. "I didn't. I had no idea," Amara said softly, but her words were almost lost in the noise. Her parents leaned toward the lawyer, firing questions about appeals and loopholes. Mr. Moleff answered each one with quiet certainty. Airtight, final, cannot be contested. Meanwhile, phones began buzzing across the table. Cousins exchanged wide-eyed looks as notifications poured in. Someone whispered, "It's already on Facebook." Naledi's birthday guests, many of whom had filmed the Lexus reveal weeks earlier, were now reposting old videos of Amara standing alone with her flimsy card. Captions blazed across screens. "Ignored daughter gets everything. Remember that party. Karma is real." Within minutes, social media lit up like wildfire. Hashtags trended across Botswana. Hashtag Grandma Power. Hashtag The Forgotten Heir. Hashtag Patience Builds Palaces. Strangers who had never met Amara were sharing clips of her quiet humiliation at the birthday dinner. Contrastings poured in. "This is the revenge story of the year." "The car looks small now." Naledi grabbed her phone, her face twisting as she scrolled through the flood of posts. "Delete those videos," she hissed to no one in particular. Their mother whispered frantically to a relative about damage control, while their father paced like a caged animal. Amara sat silently, the letter still clutched against her chest. The chaos swirled around her. Anger, disbelief, the hum of incoming messages. But inside she felt a strange, steady calm. Grandma's words echoed in her mind like a quiet drumbeat. "Patience builds palaces." The proud stumble first. Tonight, the whole world was watching that prophecy unfold. The days that followed felt unreal, like Amara was living inside someone else's story. News of the will spread across Gaborone faster than the summer wind. Every major paper ran headlines about the forgotten daughter, who had inherited everything. Radio hosts debated whether this was destiny or karma. Strangers messaged Amara with congratulations, while old classmates suddenly remembered her phone number. But Amara refused to let the noise change her. She stayed in her small apartment for 2 quiet days, sorting through documents with Mr. Moleff and visiting the properties her grandmother had left behind. Each house carried the scent of memories: grandchildren playing in the yard, Sunday lunches filled with laughter. Standing inside Grandma's farm kitchen, Amara felt her presence everywhere: the lavender soap by the sink, the worn Bible on the counter, the soft hum of love that seemed to cling to the walls. When reporters requested a statement, Amara agreed to speak, but only once. The press gathered in the courtyard of Grandma's largest house, cameras flashing under the bright Botswana sun. Amara arrived in a simple cream dress and flat shoes. No makeup except for a touch of lip balm. She held her grandmother's letter in one hand as she faced the microphones. "I stand here today because of my grandmother's love and wisdom," she began, her voice steady but warm. "She taught me that hard work and patience matter more than shiny things. I will honor her by using part of this inheritance to create scholarships for students who, like me, have been overlooked but never stopped working." The crowd fell silent for a moment before breaking into applause. Journalists shouted questions, but many of them simply nodded, visibly moved by her calm dignity. Social media exploded with praise. Hashtags like hashtag Amara the Humble and hashtag scholarships over shiny cars trended across southern Africa. People began calling her Botswana's Quiet Queen, a title she found both funny and humbling. Family friends who had ignored her at the infamous birthday dinner now sent long, apologetic messages. Aunts who once dismissed her achievements suddenly wanted to meet for tea. Even distant cousins who had barely spoken to her showed up at the farm, offering awkward hugs and promises of family unity. Amara accepted each apology with a polite smile but kept her heart guarded. Naledi, once the glittering star of every gathering, avoided public appearances for weeks. Rumors swirled that she had deleted her social media accounts after endless comparisons to her graceful sister. Their parents remained silent, their once confident faces now marked with quiet confusion whenever reporters approached them. Through it all, Amara stayed true to her grandmother's lesson. She did not gloat, she did not brag. Instead, she signed papers for the scholarship fund and visited the farm to plant the first seeds of her new life. As she walked through the fields at sunset, the sky glowing gold and purple, she whispered softly to the wind, "Thank you, Grandma. Your palace of patience is safe with me." The story of Amara's inheritance exploded across southern Africa like wildfire. Newspapers splashed bold headlines that made everyone stop and read. "Birthday girl ignored by family inherits entire fortune." "Sister's Lexus suddenly looks small." Radio hosts replayed the tale every hour, and TV anchors described it as the most satisfying twist of the year. Social media was even louder. Hashtags like hashtag AmaraWins and hashtag GrandmaNew trended for days as people shared their own stories of being overlooked and underestimated. When Amara finally appeared in public, cameras nearly tipped over to capture her every move. She arrived at her grandmother's grand estate not in a flashy car but in a simple white sedan. She wore a soft blue dress, flats instead of heels, and carried only a small leather bag. Despite the crowd, she walked calmly through the gates, smiling at reporters as if she had been preparing for this moment her whole life. One journalist shouted a question about her new wealth. Amara paused, her gentle smile never fading. "True wealth," she said clearly, her voice carrying over the noise, "isn't the car you're handed, it's the respect you earn." The courtyard went quiet for a heartbeat before exploding into cheers and camera flashes. Her words spread across the internet within minutes. Millions reposted the clip with captions like, "Queen Energy," and "Patience Pays." Talk shows debated favoritism in African families, while young people quoted Amara to encourage each other to stay strong, even for dignity and self-worth. That evening, as the sun set behind the estate, Amara stood on the balcony, the golden light catching her calm face. She didn't crave revenge or fame. She had something better, proof that quiet strength always